Hi, and welcome to InfoSec Pros. I'm Kane, Field CISO at Hyperproof, and I'm joined today at RSA 2025 by Robert Jordan, who is an information security leader, GIC nerd, and also an information security professional. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thanks for having me. I love being here.
I am so glad we can be here. We met last night at this is a great RSA story, right? We ended up meeting at a bar, talked to each other's ears off about cybersecurity, and that's why you're here today.
I'm happy to talk and geek out about GRC.
Oh my goodness, you are definitely on the right show. So let's talk a little bit about regulatory compliance and some of the complexities associated with it, because you've worked with a variety of organizations, right? So you've worked across industries and you've worked in small organizations. I didn't use it right now, so I think I can say Stanford credit.
You can?
But you also worked at JP Morgan Chase, and you also worked at Mosaic, which I want to talk about. But how have you seen the financial regulations and requirements change over the period of your career?
Oh, the period of my career is vast, so a lot. But if we just go back those more recently, I don't think much has changed recently. I think the biggest thing that's changed overall has been the notifications for breaches. So that started, contractual requirements for a lot, but now it's coming down for a lot of federal organizations. If you're a public company, you got to be notified. So those notifications are critical, especially because everything's supply chain based now. So without those notifications, a lot of folks just would hide the breach and not get into it. It gets back to why do we have policies to begin with?
You know, that's very true. So you're talking about some of the problems we've seen in financial services. Kind of turn that question around. What are the compliance requirements or maybe compliance frameworks that you find that are actually effective at improving an organization's security posture? And what are the ones that are just honestly a paper pushing exercise?
I think any policy or any framework or compliance policies can be useful to an organization if they choose to do them correctly. It's up to the organization to actually put effort into the compliance piece so that they use it instead of just a check the box exercise. If you get a SOC 2, a lot of them are check the box. SOC 1, SOC 2, very check the box, but they don't have to be. SOC 2 is a little bit more stringent because they actually tell you what the controls have to be. Whereas SOC 1, management can kind of come up with their kind of assertions and say, yeah, we're good. So some of those can be a lot of check the box. I review a lot of the SOC 2s for our vendors, and many of them have no findings, which I find absolutely incredible. I can't believe everyone's doing just amazingly well.
No findings.
No findings.
SOC. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that seems legit.
Yeah. So again, that just shows the level of effort that the company is using with those frameworks. I think PCI has been a game changer for many areas because it was very stringent. But again, it goes to the organization. I've seen a lot of organizations that handle payment cards and they don't take it seriously. And so it just does become a check the box exercise. So really, I think it's up to the organizations to how they want to manage that framework and how deep they want to go.
Yeah, and I do think that has improved over the years. I remember I was working with a retailer, and when PCI first came out, when we were, punching copper through walls and setting up new data centers, and their position they'd taken was, we're not going to bother. And they were, increasing fines. I think eventually it got to about $1 million a day, and they were like, well, to them, that was a rounding error. They're like, we just don't care. And eventually came back, yeah, we're going to just prevent you from doing Visa or MasterCard. Suddenly they care, and that was an incentive. But I think we're past those like fines-based incentives, right?
No, I think they're still going to happen. I think especially for some of those organizations, I think given the political climate we're in right now, I think there's going to be less oversights, maybe less enforcement for a few years. And I think we've seen that back and forth over the decades where the pendulum swings left to right, less enforcement, more enforcement. So I think we're kind of in a less enforcement maybe period right now.
That's fair, I think, yes.
The
EU is certainly doing a thing.
The government just came out with, what was it, CMMC, and so
CMMC. Oh, that's triggering almost to me, because I'm former A&D. Yikes.
But again, how much they want to enforce that on their vendors is going to be key. You can have everything written down. You can do a lot of the good work. I think the enforcement is going to be minimal here for the next couple of years.
I think that's fair. And I want to go to something you were talking about there around the idea of third-party risk management. And you were at JP Morgan Chase, which possibly has a slightly larger budget than a
Just a bit.
than maybe a smaller organization like Mosaic where you were at, which was a fintech, same space. How are you handling third-party risk using, such diverse budgetary limitations or advantages?
Well, at Chase, there's a whole division that helps work with third-party risk when I was there. This is back 2008. Um, so yeah, they have the time and the budget and the resources to be able to do the heavy lifting of third-party risk management. You get to smaller orgs where there are 200, 300 people. Uh, what you can do is limited by how much time you have for that resource to how deep you want to go to it. So it might be a check the box exercise for the first few years as you stand up that program. But the idea is to build that muscle memory and do it better and better each year, continuous improvement for the program. So yeah, you have to pick your battles on the third-party risk management. What part of it is really important to you? The contracting? Is it just check the box for SOC 2 compliance? Are you requiring other things that the vendors really need to do to adhere to your policies so you feel secure using that vendor?
All right, all right. So that's promising. I like that answer. It's nuanced, and you're clearly working within the constraints that you have. I want to move our conversation to leadership because you've been in leadership roles. I've been in leadership roles, but you've emphasized you like being hands-on in leadership roles, and I think for some that might be a dichotomy, especially if they've had a CISO or other senior security leader who's a little more hands-off. How are you balancing the tendency of wanting to be hands-on with just overall strategic oversight, and at the same time being able to stand in front of your board as well as your team and maintain credibility in both of those very different audiences?
I think this is an area I struggle in. Let's be honest. I don't think I do a great job at it. I am very technical. Coming into new orgs, I tend to be very technical at first, so I understand the tech stack, how things are working, where the data flow is working, and then move more into the business strategy, and then let the team handle more of the technical aspects. So I think for me, it's always growing early in the org. I'm a little bit more technical, and then I try and get hands off to allow the team to do the work. But I think it's critical for me to understand the technology and how the data is flowing through the technology that business is using. For me to understand what protections we need in place. Then hopefully by doing that, I have a better nuance of the business a little bit, and then I can then start having business conversations with the other business units and work with them on how technology can support them, as well as how we can do it securely. So,
And you've also built security teams, so those are the people who are truly hands-on. What are the attributes you really prioritize when you're looking to build out a security team? Because you've built teams over a number of organizations, predominantly in finance. What do you look for in a potential team member?
I lead a lot with empathy. So for me, I don't come from you have to know a specific uh, technology set to come in. I really like looking for the fire in the belly for people. Who's going to show up to work and be excited to work, even when you're talking about governance, risk, and compliance, which sometimes is not is my kindred spirit. We could find them, but other than that, a lot of people kind of shy away from that space. Early in my career, I was more on the technical side. How do you know these technical pieces? And if you don't know those technical pieces, maybe you're not a good fit. Over my career, I've learned a lot of this can be learned. If you've got the willingness to learn and you've got a good foundation, we can teach you, we can learn, and you can grow in that role. But I do want the folks that are excited to be there, want to do a good job, excited about the company they're working for. I think that makes a lot of difference.
And now you brought in, like, you previously worked in retail, right? You've worked in retail, you've worked in banking, you've worked in a variety of organizations. I think right now we're at a bit of a pivotal moment where the federal government appears to be backing up a little bit on providing information to industry, and industry appears to be willing to step up. So what are some of the challenges that you see, like, because we've got nation state actors, we've got sophisticated cybercrime at this point. What are some of the big challenges that you're seeing face our industry today? And like, what is it you'd say for advice for our listeners to go ahead and start addressing those issues?
I want to get tactical, or want to be a little bit more high level here, so we can let's do both. Let's go little high level here for it. Uh, I think every organization is going to have cybercrime. So cybercrime has to be addressed, no matter what, no matter your organization, no matter your size. You do have to do some table stakes on working with cybercrime. So MFA table stakes across the board for everything that you do. we get into some more detailed areas for organizations. You need to put some ad blockers on. You need to do some of these, ad blockers and managing the browsers. Very critical. A lot of organizations don't do that. So those are some easy table stakes to do it. Outside of that, as the organization matures, you are going to have to start working on all of your interconnections between all of your partners, and how do you work with them to make sure that they actually are super secure within the frameworks that you're choosing. Does that answer? Kind of rambled there.
And no, I think that's a fantastic answer. I love that you've got ad blocking as a technology recommendation there. I've been running ad blockers at organizations for years, and other than the occasional false positive, I think what a lot of organizations don't appreciate is how much malware just comes straight up through advertised.
Straight up through, and the users don't even interact with it. So it's again, it's table stakes like multi-factor authentication.
And that's one of those evolutions we've seen in cybercrime, where they will have an advertising budget. They will go spend on Google ads or Bing ads or other advertising platforms to distribute malware. You said you're a cybercrime geek. You've said cybercrime is going to affect other organizations. Other than like the proliferation of malvertising, which is, again, one of those horror show words our industry has come up with, malicious advertising. What are some of the other surprising attack techniques that you've seen in the past couple years?
Uh, I think like the red line stealers, to get a little technical. So basically all of the credential stealers that are coming out. And then I think those are critical, right? So I think and they're going to continue for a while, and they affect not just the users when they're in your organization. You can protect them there, but they're going to go home and maybe log in from home, and now that device is compromised, but you have no oversight on it. So we can talk for hours on identity access management, but again, the stealers and how you manage credentials. I'm not a big fan of credential rotation every 90 days. I think multi-factor and a few others can take care of that if you're using a passwordless technology, but yeah, I'll end it there.
All right. But I want to go back to something else you said for table stakes, because you were talking about privileged access management. And I used to work in that space quite passionately, as well as identity and access management. Organizations have moved to the cloud almost wholesale, although in some territories and jurisdictions, they're moving back to on-premises data centers because of regulatory controls and data residency. But really, what's your current approach to modern PAM, to privileged authentication or privileged access management? And has that changed despite the architecture move?
Oh, drastically. I think especially for privileged access management, there's a lot of tools, especially around the floor here today, that do a great job at the user not owning the credentials. So they're one-time credentials, or they're rotated for you. You don't get to see them because they're only used in the cases where you need to elevate and do the work. So I think that's critical, not having a password that's static and there, especially for these the high-level access that you'll need for just a moment to SSH into a box or something of that nature.
Yeah. And are you still seeing the use of anything like access gateways? Like you remember the old jump box methodology, right?
Is
that still relevant in a cloud-first environment?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly relevant. We use jump boxes for our vendors. So all the vendors have to come in and go through that gateway to access it. So they're not coming in through a standard area where you've got a protected gateway that they can see it, and we know the traffic, we know who's connecting, and we can watch what they're doing.
So that probably is a better access control than just letting anybody in, right?
Yeah, and so we can see, besides just access where you say, oh, that vendor logged in at 2:30. I'm like, okay, that's great, but now we can go back and go, what they do at 2:30? Let me look at it.
I have horror stories that I'm sure you and I both have about things that vendors get up to. But I want to up-level it a bit and take it back to the policy level. And there's been a lot of policy change over the past, we are living through history right now. So the EU is pushing extraterritorial regulations. The United States domestically, we appear to be entering a kind of a back to basics at the Securities and Exchange Commission, with less novel application of legal theory and the conflation of like accounting controls or cybersecurity controls, which they're not. What are you seeing? Like, what are the big trends that you're tracking at the market level, interjurisdictionally, that matter to you?
For me, it's all about state privacy. So I think we're starting to see more and more states come on with their regulatory requirements. And if you do business in multiple states, you need to be addressed with it and make sure you're focused on it. Again, it goes back to, you can have the policy or the regulation, but are you following it? Are you doing it right? They're doing it well. So I think I would love to. We were really on track, I think, for a little bit to have a government, privacy law, but I don't know if that's going to happen this year or next. So I think that's going to be a little ways away.
Yeah, that one's unfortunately last year. They increased the Children's Privacy Act, and they combined the two bills, and I think that's what the death knell was.
I think they're done. I think they're gonna.
That was unfortunate.
Okay,
Okay,
for a bit.
yeah, but last question for you. Sure, we're here in California. California is known for leading the country, at least, a lot of regulatory and legal change. You're tracking CCPA too. Fantastic. What do you think about their audit standard? Because I've looked at that and I went, wow, this is.
I don't think I've seen the full audit standard of that.
It's still in draft.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I've
it's
missed
still up for public comment, but it definitely, for me, it's like the most stringent audit standard available. I've seen the cost, and it's like I'm in billions of money for organizations to adopt, and the fines seem to be substantial.
And is this for just the state audits for CCPA, or is this across the board for cyber? Because they've been leading the way for cyber controls when they come into us.
This is going to be a kind of a both. They're taking CCPA and they're going to say, well, you've got information about people who are California citizens. You have to be able to protect that. You have to be able to show us from an audit perspective that you're actually applying the controls.
Oh, that's fantastic. They've been doing it a while for the cyber technology controls, and I know Florida is also another one that's kind of doing heavy audits in that area, but I'm not sure if they've come up with a standard as well. So that's great. I got some weekend reading to look at. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely do. I've got that post up on LinkedIn. Just scroll back on me, but also comment on it. I think that's the big thing right now. California's also got the DROP Act, which is for data brokers to have a consistent form for people to sign to say, I don't want to share my personal data. I know that's also up for public comment right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a time where they were trying to get everyone to use that browser plugin so that we would track that and report back to the different companies. I'm like, I don't think that's going to work really well, but I think enforcing some of these is really difficult from the standpoint. And again, they're only going to audit a percentage of the companies out there, so it's not going to have wide-reaching effects, I think, initially.
I think that's a fair point. Well, with that, I want to thank you for being on the show today, Robert. And if you're watching this at home and you're thinking like, wow, that was a great conversation, I'd like to be on the show. Or if you know somebody who we should have on InfoSec Pros, reach out to me on LinkedIn, DM me, email me. With that, Robert, I really want to thank you for joining me today on RSA 2025, and enjoy the rest of the show.
You as well. Thank you.